The focus of the work that you do is on emotions, and as we've talked about before, a lot is centered around joy. What got you on that track of wanting to especially focus on joy?
Yeah. Well, it was my first client. Well, I don't think it was my first client, but it was one of my first clients. I was working in the clinic at Duquesne University, and you do what's called an intake. Somebody comes in and you interview them and you find out what's their presenting problem. And so I'm learning how to be a good psychotherapist, and very nervous, not really knowing what I'm doing. And having read quite a bit about things, but knowing things in books and actually doing it are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was maybe the third client I'd ever seen. This young woman. I think she was a senior at the time. And when I asked her what her presenting problem is, she said, "I don't have any joy in my life." So she was presenting her problem as not as depression or anxiety or any other kind of disorder you could find in DSM-5. It was an absence of a quality of life that she felt was the problem. And she didn't really fit the criteria for depression. She wasn't having suicidal thoughts. She wasn't having insomnia. She wasn't really, thinking morbid thoughts or things like that. She was having some strange dreams. So I went to my supervisor and I said, well, what do you do with somebody who lacks joy in life? And he says, "Good question." He says, "I don't know." So I said, "Okay, well, I guess I'll go read about it." So I went to the research literature. PsycInfo is what psychologists tend to look at, or index. And there was nothing, like almost zero research on joy. So I thought, well, there you go. There's my dissertation topic. There's very little research. And I was taking a research methods class, and we had an opportunity in that class to do a pilot study. That was a qualitative research. So I did the pilot study. In the first time I did the research, it was the data was kind of thin. The way I did the interviews, it didn't yield really good data. Then I started to do a technique where I had people do drawings, abstract drawings, using color and form to try to communicate their experience of the emotion. And then that was very generative. That gave me a lot of rich data. And then it would prompt people. It kind of gave people license to use like metaphor and analogy and things like that to describe their experience. And that was really gave me a wealth of data. So I thought, okay, perfect. So I went on and did my dissertation, defended it, and that was a big piece of my dissertation. So that's basically how it got started. Is there was somebody who came in and said, "I need to know, how to have more joy," and we didn't really know even what joy was. Like, what is joy? How do you help somebody to have more joy in their life? And so that's been the beginning of my journey. I guess that would have been like 1998 or something like that. And
so what in all that research and all that work you were doing, did you come up with a definition of what joy was?
Yes. I think the probably the simplest expression of it would be a kind of being fulfilled. But that's I don't think quite captures it. It really involved. Descriptively, it involved. Well, let me back up a minute, because I want to say that there's different ways that you can study joy. One way you can study is by looking at it as a state. So it's a rather fleeting experience. It comes and goes. And then another way you can look at joy is as a mood, which would be a general sort of background mood that you might carry with you throughout the day, or maybe a week, or for a period of time. But it's still more transitory. And then we can talk about dispositional joy, or state or trait joy, which would be more of a personality disposition, a disposition to have experiences of joy more so than others. And then you could also talk about joy as a spiritual fruit, which is still another way of conceptualizing joy. So when I started off, I was studying state joy, how people experienced these sort of fleeting moments of joy, and then later went on to
Mm-hmm.
study the other dimensions. So when people had this momentary experience of joy, it was really a kind of powerful, energized feeling moving up and out of the body, is how people described it. It was this movement up and
Mm-hmm.
out. People would describe it the way I'm doing it with their hands. They talked about, but even though it was a very powerful experience, there was a kind of sense of peace and security in that
Mm-hmm.
power. It didn't feel out of control or dangerous. And along with that, a feeling of connectedness to the world around them and to other people.
Thank you for watching this Nerding Out short. Click here to watch the full episode. Click the subscribe button and the bell notification to know when we put up new videos. To support the channel, head over to Nerdy Catholic Tees and purchase some nerdy merch of your very own.
System shut down.